Welcome back, everybody. Coast to Coast, This Week in America. Margaret Exler is the author of the fiction book series for young adults, Puckett Cornelius Jones. She started writing, actually, in the late 1970s, working for a New York-based newspaper conglomerate. She had her own column feature department. She's an art major, certified Reiki master. She met Charles Schulz and his wife and developed our cartoon strip, Darwin. An avid reader since age 8, a fan of books with depth and layer and meaning that inspire excitement and the intense desire to soar and expand oneself. The author of the highly praised Puckett Cornelius Jones series, Margaret Exler, joining us on This Week in America. Susan, welcome to the program. It's great to have you with us. This is such an exciting series that you've written. What a great world you've created for the characters and for the readers. You've written 2 books so far in the Puckett Cornelius Jones series. The first book, Puckett Cornelius Jones and the GworrmGast. Did I say that right?
You did, absolutely.
Okay. And the second book, Puckett Cornelius Jones and the Shadow of Isninsl. Could you tell us a bit about these books, and are they considered high fantasy in this world that you've created? It's so much fun to escape to that world. Tell us a little bit about the books.
Well, first of all, yes, the books are young adult high fantasy, and like other well-known high fantasy epics, like Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings, they could potentially include adults and readers under 12. High fantasy is all about the battle between good and evil, but I'm approaching it from a very different angle, and that is we're responsible for our choices as individuals and collectives. We know the basis of all creation is energy, which also includes our thoughts, emotions, and beliefs. We're responsible for what we set into motion. And I think being a good person has often been misrepresented as being an obedient person, controlled by other people's approval, meek and weak. Basically, a person with no depth or dimension and no layers to interest. And evil has often been put on a sort of pedestal. I remember when the word bad became popular and it meant cool.
Yes.
And
Yes.
and the word sick meant fantastic. Well, actually, that's still in use. That's a fairly new one, actually. And another example of this would be well-known actors who'd rather play the evil character because they say it's a lot more interesting, powerful, and charismatic. I see good actually as the source of power because it's the energy behind flight and expansion. And I see evil as its contrasting opposite that has the potential to motivate beneficial choices that lead to growth. There's a saying, every subject is like a stick with 2 ends. You can say good on one end diminishes toward the opposite end of the stick until it becomes a shadow of itself, which we call evil. The word live reversed is evil. So in essence, evil means living life in a way that doesn't benefit you, it diminishes you, it makes you smaller. I can tell you a little bit about the story without giving too much away. It takes place in a world called Orr, that's ORR. And Orr exists in a dimension that intersects with Earth, and it's being contaminated by low vibrational or dark energies from our side. Puckett is 13 and he lives with his divorced mother. He's very idealistic. He has a deep knowing that there's more to life than what he sees around him and what he sees his mother watching on the news, and he dreams of being a hero. His 3 close friends also come from dysfunctional backgrounds, although they each have a different reaction to their circumstances. Now, when Puckett is summoned to Orr, his 3 friends tag along, and from the moment they arrive, there's a rapid snowballing of events. Puckett is very excited by Orr's beauty, but it doesn't take him long to learn that it's been infected by dark energies created on our side.
It's such a fascinating story. As you mentioned, this is a book that anybody can read.
Thank you.
We're talking about
Yes.
the Puckett Cornelius Jones series. The author, S. Margaret Exler, is our guest on the program. I'm just so impressed with the world that you've created and the story
Thank
that
you.
you're telling. What inspired you to write the Puckett series?
I'm inspired by books with depth and layers of meaning that awaken the human yearning to soar, stories that thrill. I believe in human nobility, despite the obvious cruelty in every race and culture. I believe in, I guess what you would call a higher consciousness in the human spirit. And I believe in our ability to transcend the contrast we create. We either choose to accept and be mastered by darkness, or we choose not to let ourselves be absorbed by it. It's a choice.
It's interesting you mentioned Ore, which is a fascinating place in the series. Tell us a little bit about Ore and how it differs from the world that we've created.
Well, it's a land of incredible beauty and wisdom. There are people in Ore who are highly evolved in their understanding of energy and how to use it. And they use it in powerful ways we would call magic. And personal freedom is also highly valued. Each race has always been free to create their own unique culture. The difference between Ore and our world is all their cultures were seeded by the founding culture in the crystal city of Isninsl. It seeded them with wisdom, love, and freedom for all, and they grew and expanded together. Anyone is welcome to live in and experience these different cultures, but they would not be welcome to attack them or assert violent, abusive, or oppressive beliefs on them, or any unwanted change at all. There's no forced merging of any kind. The Master Seraph actually has his seal carved in a map of gems and marble that says, "There is no wish too great or small." And there isn't, as long as it includes the benefit, well-being, and freedom of choice for all involved.
You talk about the magic in Ore. Talk about that. And are there witches here?
Magic is understood as the manipulation of different energies, the unseen forces that emanate from everything around us and hold everything together. It's used for defense and healing, and used offensively in extreme situations. The people in Ore skilled in energy work, regardless of gender, are all referred to as wizards or workers of light. There are no witches.
With us on the program is S. Margaret Exler. The book series is the Puckett Cornelius Jones series. The first book is Puckett Cornelius Jones and the GworrmGast, and the second is Puckett Cornelius Jones and the Shadow of Isninsl. Her website is very simple, PuckettCorneliusJones.com. Give you a lot of information there. You go to our website, thisweekinamerica.us, and link on directly to her website and get information there on the books. Puckett is really an interesting character. The challenges are overwhelming that he faces. What qualifies Puckett to be able to jump in and to challenge these? How did you develop this character?
Well, without giving too much of the story away, that's great. He's qualified because of his intense desire to live in a happier world. I chose a boy as the protagonist because the male, when aligned with his, I guess you would call it his highest character, uses his physical strength for protecting life and those who give it. It isn't that females aren't equal in value or capable of equal nobility, genius, and valor. It's not that they aren't capable of actions they're physically suited for. It's just that in dangerous situations, a qualified male who is stronger physically is obviously more suitable. And Puckett also faces traumatic and devastating challenges. That said, there's significant heroism by the female characters in the story. And there's something else that qualifies Puckett, but that's a secret revealed at the end of the first book.
Ooh, so I recommend you get the book and read it. You'll enjoy it. And then you get the secret at the end of the book. Book's available at the website, PuckettCorneliusJones.com. And, of course, you'll find the books available on Amazon and the other places as well. I want to go back to Orr because this is such a fascinating place. What is the impact of Orr on Puckett and the three friends that you had talked about?
Well, Rick, it's life-changing. It's also healing and helps them to define and choose what they want and who they want to be because they're able to see themselves and their choices more clearly. The dark energies affecting Orr have an impact on its citizens as well as on Puckett and his friends, in particular one of his friends that I can't reveal.
With us on the program, Margaret Exler, author of the Puckett Cornelius Jones series. The series is filled with unique characters and places. As much as you can, elaborate a little bit on some of the characters because you've created some really remarkable characters.
There are definitely a lot of characters in the story, too many to mention, and there's also a lot of traveling. Some of the locations are the Eight Bells Inn in Pottle's Patch, where the Sights live, which is in the southeastern region called Humming Green. There's the magical hidden city of Dragoslava, and the only way to access it is by riding a giant lily pad down the Gushing Dump, which is a 250-foot waterfall. There's the dangerous trip through the countryside to the even more dangerous Flutter Plimp's Beans and Brew Festival in Wackerbarth. And that's fun.
It sounds like it.
Yeah, that's a crazy place. And Dawn's Perch, which is high up in the Weonard Mountains, where Vyre guards something above a fiery abyss. And the Murmuring Mountain that holds a deadly secret, just to mention a few.
So many characters. Do you have any favorites?
Let's see. The Witchwords, who live in an impressive crystal and gold complex that appears and disappears in magical mist. Wumblekin, the hairy little sight, who lives in the Witchword's garden, and he's trained to communicate exclusively with quotes from literature to uplift and enlighten. I would say also Elige, the master seraph from Isninsl, and Loon holds a special place in my heart, and of course Puckett.
It's the Puckett Cornelius Jones series, the website PuckettCorneliusJones.com. Margaret Exler, the author. You mentioned earlier the popular Harry Potter series and the Hogwarts School is where most of the action takes place. Do Puckett and his friends, do they attend a school as well?
There's actually no school that takes center stage in the story. Orr itself is their playing field. In the first book, you see Puckett and his friends briefly at Blatchcombe Middle School in Widgery Cots, which is on the border between England and Wales. And after arriving in Orr, they're asked to attend the Ringford School of Light for a short time. But Ringford isn't your typical school. It isn't enclosed by walls. It sits on top of a cloud, miles above the Witchword's garden. And the school is a stretch of land and rolling hills where an assortment of magical activities take place. And in the second book, there's no school involved at all. It's a vicious cat and mouse game across a variety of locations in Orr with an extremely dangerous adversary.
Do you have a message in the books?
We're beginning to understand everything is energy. Our thoughts and emotions are no different from radio waves. Energy is the fundamental material of everything that exists. Love, for example, is not just an emotion. It's first an energy, which carries light in the form of high consciousness and information. It's the energy of love that causes the emotion. Darkness is the lack of information. It's also the withholding of information in order to dominate others and make yourself feel better. The energy of love or high consciousness and the dark energies that motivate things like hate or rape, murder, or the silencing of anyone defending themselves from a violent, oppressive belief system can't exist in the same place. The energies aren't compatible. They don't vibrate with the same frequency. So one will expel the other. And I'm shining a light on another reality and the yearning of the human heart. So at the story's core is the understanding that energies from our thoughts, emotions, and their resulting beliefs, whether based on love or the lower energies of violent assertion over others, it all builds momentum over time.
We're talking about I'm sorry, go ahead. Finish your thought.
I just wanted to say that we're creating this momentum whether we realize it or not. We create what these energies set into motion. And I believe the answer is within us and that we're more powerful creators than we realize. This is, in a sense, the game board. It's a head game, a vibrational game. So Puckett's story has a lot of layers to it. And at the heart of it is the misuse, misdirected focus, and misunderstanding of how energies and their frequencies attract and create. At the heart of the story is, who are you and what do you stand for? And be willing to give up everything for your own alignment with your core self, your heart, and your higher awareness. Because in alignment, everything that comes from the highest vibrations is yours.
Puckett is 13 years old in the first book, 18 in the second book. How has he changed between books 1 and 2?
In the first book, I would have to say he learns to trust himself. That would be his greatest lesson. He grows. They all do. There's a definite progression, both internal and external, as he moves through ore. In the second book, I would say he learns love, courage, perseverance, and responsibility on a whole new level because he's being played with by something he doesn't understand.
As you're writing the book, does this energize you, exhaust you? As you're reading through this, I could see both coming into play. And how long does it take you to plot your books out?
Well, writing's actually a very calming and uplifting experience for me. I go into a very deep mental and emotional state, almost like meditating. And if I'm not in a good mood, I can't write at all. I actually don't plot out my books. The best way I could explain it is using Michelangelo as my defender. He felt the form already existed in the block of marble, and as he chipped away, he allowed it to reveal itself to him. I kind of write in the same way. I feel the story is already inside me, and if I allow it, in other words, if I'm not worried or doubtful of my ability to write, the story will reveal itself.
Yes, Margaret Exler, our guest on the program. A fascinating book, and the way you go about it is equally fascinating. We mentioned the 2, and I'll give you both of those here in a second, so you can get information on these available at the website and by linking onto our website. Will there be a third book in the series?
Yes, definitely. It was meant to be a trilogy. The third book is it's called the Dreaming Tome, and it refers to a massive 4-foot-long book bound in amethyst. It lies within the hallowed glade in the heart of Isninsl. I'm in the process of writing the third book now.
And hopefully we'll have an opportunity to talk about that. It's such a fascinating series. And I know working with you through this process has been reader's magnet. What's that experience been like for you?
Oh, it's been great. The people are extremely kind, very kind. They're very respectful of your work, and they do everything they can to support you.
And you'll find the book available at many websites. Her website, PuckettCorneliusJones.com. You'll find it at ReadersMagnet.com as well. You'll find it as well at Amazon, all the usual places. And by going to our website, thisweekinamerica.us, you can link on. We're talking about the Puckett Cornelius Jones series, Book 1, Puckett Cornelius Jones and the GworrmGast. Puckett Cornelius Jones and the Shadow of Isninsl is the second book in the series. Book number 3 is coming out here soon. And any idea when that'll be coming out and we can talk about it?
Probably in the next year, Rick, because
Okay.
it takes a while.
Boy, I can tell with this elaborate, complex world that you build and so many layers to the
Yeah.
Puckett Cornelius Jones series. Susan, it's been a pleasure having you on the program. Congratulations on the success of books 1 and 2. Looking forward to book number 3. Thank you for being with us on the program.
Rick, thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure.
It's been our pleasure, and thank you for the opportunity to have you with us on the program. Margaret Exler, Margaret Exler, the author. Book available, of course, at Amazon, the usual places. Link on to our website, thisweekinamerica.us, and get all that information. We're back on today's program right after these messages.